welcome back to They Say It Takes a Village. Now, of course, before we get into today's show, I just wanted to say a big thank you and give a massive shout out to the amazing team at Wear That Now, particularly my very talented stylist, Christelle. Now, of course, this is a video podcast and I've officially ran out of clothes to wear, so they've definitely come and saved my life. And they will do the same for you. And if you're anything like me and you've got occasions coming up throughout the year and the idea of going to the mall with small children gives you anxiety, then you have to do yourself a favor and head over to Wear That Now's Instagram page, fill out their style survey and get connected with your very own stylist who will then create a personalized box to fit every budget, every occasion, and every style. That box will then get sent straight to your doorstep for you to try on the clothes in the comfort of your own home. The outfits that you love, you keep, and the ones that you don't, you simply send back. It's as easy as that. So head over to @wear.that.now, get connected with your personal stylist, get some amazing outfits, take some photos, DM me, and happy shopping. So in honor of Mother's Day, we decided to do things slightly different here at They Say It Takes a Village. Last year, I interviewed my mom and my sister. This year, we thought we'd turn the tables around and have my mom interview me on my take on parenting, life, and everything in between. So without further ado, help me welcome your new host of They Say It Takes a Village, the incredible Ban AlToumah.
Hello.
Hi, Mama.
And welcome to They Say It Takes a Village. Hi, Riri.
Hi.
Normally, I would. Today, I'll be asking the questions, and you'll be the guest.
I'm excited. I'm in the hot seat.
Yes, you are. And normally, you ask the person can you tell me a little bit about your background? How long have you, or what you do, and how long have you been in the UAE?
Of course. It's kind of funny that you're asking me this question.
Yeah.
My background. Okay. So obviously I was born in Baghdad in Iraq. We then hopped around due to the situation there. We moved to Australia, stayed there for a little while, and then we finally kind of settled here in the UAE. I think now it's coming up to 30 years.
Yeah.
I work in the healthcare space. I have a full-time job doing that. I've got a wonderful husband, Nasa, 2 little boys, Laith and Zane, who keep us on our toes. They are so energetic, and yeah, I'm just getting used to that. The big one is 6 and the little one is 3. And I have also recently-ish started They Say It Takes a Village, initially as honestly a passion project, but it's slowly taking a life of its own. And it's, I would say, probably my 3rd child that I deeply love and very much invested in.
That's beautiful. They keep us all on our toes.
I know. They give everybody a run for the money. The little kids. It's unbelievable. I never thought. We came from obviously a family of all women and all girls. Yeah. So it's very different, seeing the dynamics of boys and how they kind of take over. I've got a lot of masculine energy. So sometimes I come back home to you guys and get that lovely feminine energy that I'm deprived of.
Yeah. I love both energies, really. Yeah. They're all a gift from God.
Yeah.
All right. So let me ask you your first question.
Go for it.
How has your upbringing influenced your approach to parenting?
Look, I think, when it comes to upbringing, I feel childhood, obviously is going to have an impact on who you are as a parent, for sure. And, we moved around. So obviously we bounced from one place to the other, even in Australia. But that I find has given us a little bit of resilience, the ability for us to kind of, I want to use the word, is it assimilate? When you sort of, you are flexible to certain environments.
Yes.
And I find that that's something that, being thrown into something like parenthood, that's almost like another environment that I had to assimilate in. It's, it's again, we never sort of grew up around children. We were all, we grew up in the time that, so we never, it's not like I got practice for it or anything like that. So I find with our childhood, because we had, different, I would say different scenarios and different places, and it wasn't, the generic, you go to one school, you stay there till grade 12, then you go off to university. I find that's given me a little bit of flexibility to also take into motherhood. It almost prepared me slightly for the ups and downs, and I definitely do that with the kids. I also think a lot of the times, you know you kind of, with going to Australia, then moving back here, or back here as in the Middle East, I find that it gives me an ability to think a bit globally, that there's a lot out there, and therefore, you sort of bring that into parenting. You don't, you keep your kids sort of broad. You keep them, their minds open to different possibilities and different scenarios and things like that. So that's, I feel, again, given me flexibility. I think that's probably what it is. My childhood given me massive amounts of flexibility to take on different aspects and roles in my life.
What a relief. What a relief to hear that.
Why?
I'm so glad, because I always thought that would, exactly those steps that you've mentioned, the moving around, would have negatively impacted you, but you're sort of using that as a source of energy.
Yeah,
positivity.
I think
I'm very
so.
happy.
But the thing is, with us, we did stay in one place for a long period of time here.
Yeah.
We stayed in the UAE for a very long time. So there was stability. I think early childhood, there was massive instability. So, you have a little bit of the best of both worlds. What instability, although to be honest, I don't really remember all that much of it, the moving around. I do remember little bits and pieces of school and starting school, but the majority of the time was fairly stable. We did eventually go into one school, and we did graduate from that one school, and we've come back here to work. So don't feel guilty,
Yeah.
Don't feel guilty, because but it has given me almost a little bit of a toolbox to grab onto, to be able to sort of put myself in situations, I'm sure, subconsciously, and I guess maybe uncomfortable situations or unknown situations, and be able to kind of navigate through them.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that brings me to the next question, is about your upbringing, your childhood. So what did you, can you share a particularly challenging moment from your own childhood that informs you how to navigate difficult situation with your children?
Look, I think, again, childhood is such a funny thing. And it's almost like, you don't want to complain either, especially because you're sitting across the table from me.
Absolutely.
But no, in terms of incidences in childhood, and I don't know if this happens. I mean, I'm sure it does happen. And I don't know if it should be something that people say like, oh, everybody gets bullied or everyone has to go through these types of hardships. But definitely there was a bullying element, especially when we moved to Australia. My first language was Arabic, obviously, which is really strange because I can barely do it now. And I think trying to get accustomed to school, at that early age, I don't even remember how old I was. 6, 7,
6. Yeah.
I do remember that there was bullying, and I think there was definitely bullying as we got a bit older. And I remember that specifically, whether that's because of my language barrier, whether that's the way I looked, whether that's just because, I don't know, kids get bullied. But I do remember that. And I even remember who was bullying. Do you remember?
I do.
And how you used to sort of give me, I would say, almost like not tips, like advice as to how to answer back and sort of really stand up for myself.
Yeah.
But
not
it was
to be defensive.
Not to be defensive, and
just attack.
It was just, I do remember that, and I remember that being something that when, you've got that sinking feeling in your stomach when you go to school. I do have to say that period did pass when I got a bit older and, confidence kicked in. And I mean, that's obviously all thanks to you, because there was a lot of pep talks at home and, that type of thing. But that was one point that stood out so much in my mind that it's definitely something that I make it a huge point with the boys, inclusivity, to be inclusive, to be, to be appreciative of everybody around you, to remove even the word bully. Everybody's different and everybody, is going to be, you have to be in harmony. And that's something that, whether it's in the classroom, whether it's in a playground, whether it's even in our own home. So that early childhood sort of experience of bullying, and it happened for a while, and I was quite an anxious child. That's definitely become probably the most important thing. I find even when I go to parent-teacher meetings and things like that, that's, the question I ask the teachers is, how is he socially? How is Laith doing socially? How is he interacting with the other kids? I don't like it when kids sort of get into groups. I find that that's not healthy. But again, I'm not sort of a child psychologist. All I do know is to be inclusive, to be empathetic, to have emotional intelligence. That's essentially what I want for my kids when they get a bit older.
Yeah. So that is my third question, was what principles and values you would like to instill in your children. That's, again, sourcing it from your childhood.
That, to have, again, emotional intelligence, I find it's almost like a lost art.
Yeah.
To be able to have empathy, also the same. Look, I mean, kids are going to go through school and they're going to learn the math and they're going to read and they're going to do all sorts of things because luckily, and touch wood, we're in an environment that we are able to give them that.
Yes.
But we also need to be mindful at the fact that we need to teach them how to be kind, empathetic. We need to tolerant.
Yeah.
Again, so blessed to be in a country like the UAE where that is given a lot of importance. And they do grow up and they are almost like little hybrid children. I always say it that within a class for both boys, there's like 20 kids with 20 different nationalities.
Yeah.
And that in itself is a privilege. So in terms of what I want for them, or what type of morals and values I want for them to have, honestly, it is tolerance, empathy, kindness. I want them to be, to go a little, sort of to look inwards a little bit, to also be confident, to be happy with who they are and comfortable in their own skin. That for me is quite important. That also, I don't think that happens, quite early on in life. I think that's when you go on through your life, there's always periods of insecurities and confidence and insecurities. It's sort of the ebbs and flows, but also at the same time, eventually when they are a fully functional adult, I want them to be comfortable with who they are and what they offer society and what they offer their families. Yeah. That's essentially, I mean, it's a tall order, I have to say.
No, that's really the aim of every parent. And the fact that you're there for them when, as you said, ebbs and flows, when you're there, when it's the downturn, you're there to catch them, and that's the whole beauty of parenting.
It's
that you
true.
watch the highs and the lows.
Yeah. I want them to be able to come to me when they're at a massive low and be comfortable to come to me at a low. But also at the same time, I want them to find confidence in themselves that they can also tackle certain life challenges without falling apart. It's a very intricate, very delicate thing. Honestly, it scares me so much because, I mean, that's it, isn't it? The fear of all parents that, will they be okay without me?
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that for me is just, I always think to myself, how can I arm them yet be there for them
Yeah.
in the best possible way.
And at the same time, give them the independence.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
so
that.
It's a very
How do you give them the independence and allow them to move forward in their lives, feeling quite empowered, but yet watch them make mistakes and not intervene,
Yeah.
and make sure that they know that you are there no matter what. I guess it's just that, just saying it.
Yeah.
I'm here if you need it. I'm going to let you do what you need to do. But in case you need my help, I'm right here.
I'm right here.
Yeah.
Exactly. So how do you sort of find yourself emulating your own parents as a parent? And in what ways do you consciously choose a different path?
Look, I think from you,
Mm.
you know, I'll tell you guys a little story. So every time me and my sister would, go to a birthday party or go to any sort of fun thing, the first question that we would get as we come home or when you pick us up is, did you have fun? Did you enjoy yourself? We did term her as the fun police for a very long time, and we still do, to be honest. So it could be whatever it is. The first question you had asked us is, did you have fun? And I feel I now do that with the boys. I prioritize that. Life is short. We've got, sometimes the world is an upside down place to live in. And having and placing importance on joy is not often, it's not easy. Again, you've got so much, the negative always tends to take over.
Absolutely.
So placing emphasis on joy is definitely something I've picked up on from you. And daddy is a little bit more of the authoritarian type, but definitely from you, I've, the first thing that they do, or when we come home from a children's birthday party is tell me how much fun you had.
Yeah.
And that's, looking at all the positives before we tackle the negatives.
Yeah.
I find that does set a really nice tone to the general atmosphere of the house. On the flip side,
yes. So I'm waiting for that.
On the flip side, I do have to say, look, you and daddy are warriors, and there was a lot of anxiety. There was a lot of anxiety at home. And I think that definitely trickled down. It trickled down to me. It trickled down to Leanne. And it got to the point where, it's the worst case scenario play, those really horrible worst case scenarios. And that is something I am trying my hardest not to do with the kids. And it is a conscious effort because I am naturally bound that way. And I think it does come from childhood. And I apologize for saying that. But it is, the anxiety around whether it's being overprotective, whether it was just around everything. We had a little bit of anxiety, an undercurrent of anxiety. And that is something that I'm working on as an adult.
Yeah. And you do realize that this is not really just our personality. We are a product of war. It's the effect of war. And the idea is that, the responsibility was on us, the ones who plunged you into total unknown 3 times. 3 countries, and asked you to swim.
Yeah.
And that was it comes from that, as well as the feeling responsible and guilty for doing that to you. And the anxiety is beforehand and during and after, to make sure that you float and able to feel normal and healthy and not different in any way, and as well at the same time have fun and joy. So the anxiety is definitely there.
Yeah.
And it just I think anxiety is really something that I can say definitely part of my character. It shapes me.
The thing is, I feel it's not really part of your character. When you really look at who you are, you're not, I wouldn't say you're anxious, but I think out of inherent fear,
Yeah.
initially, it almost like you're cautious, very
Yeah.
cautious, and that does lead to a little bit of anxiety.
Yeah. This time, I want to ask you about the joys. So, what has been your unexpected joys and surprises of motherhood that you've never anticipated?
Look, I don't think, motherhood is such an interesting role. I don't think I was ever into children. When we go on vacations, it's always far away from the, children's side of the pool, or, you sit far away from where the kids are. And it was never something that I thought, oh, I can't wait to be a mom kind of thing. And, the one thing that I definitely did notice once I became a mom is now I am the one in the kiddies pool taking all the photos and getting excited when they're excited. To watch them be thrilled about something that I would have normally rolled my eyes on, that's the biggest surprise. I find, again, like these small little things, whether it's taking them to the car wash and watching them absolutely be fascinated with what's going on, and then pulling out my phone and taking photos of that. Whereas I used to think the car wash was like another task, So it's these types of surprises or these types of moments that I catch myself thinking, oh my God, like I'm having so much fun watching them have fun doing activities that I never thought I would enjoy.
Yeah.
That was the most surprising part.
Yeah.
Of course, I mean, I love them and I knew I was going to love them. That goes with the territory, but it's just the fact that they are seeing life for the first time, and watching them see life for the first time. It's fascinating.
Absolutely.
It's just absolute. Wow. There's no feeling like it.
Yeah.
you know
Absolutely. Yes. Yes.
and it's just, yeah, that's probably the one thing that it really took me back, because I normally really would have just been like, oh my God, I can't believe we're doing this. But I'm all in it. Just for their reaction.
Absolutely.
So that's what took me by surprise.
Yeah. And it's just, from my side, I felt that, I was the youngest in the family and everybody dotes on me. I thought, then I found myself doting, and that's what I found surprising.
Oh yeah.
That, I'm sort of like, all of a sudden you become a mother and your character changes. Exactly like you. I never felt that I'm really connected to any kids. In fact, it's it is a total surprise.
It really is a surprise, and that's the thing. I really, I like sometimes I look back and I'm ashamed. I'm ashamed for being the person on the plane that would look at like a mom struggling with a baby, and I'm just like, oh, could you just go over there now? The moment anyone has a child on the plane, I'll be there to lend a helping hand.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at them with full empathy, but it's such a shift.
Yeah, totally. So, so now, at you as a parent, can you give me or share a moment when it was particularly difficult, and how did you navigate through this experience?
I've been quite vocal about this one, and I think you guys know this very well, obviously, because you held my hand through it. After the birth of Zane, my second child, I experienced a level of anxiety that I cannot even explain to anybody. I think he was born mid-COVID, so he's a November 2022 baby. And the thing about this is it's such a silent struggle. I I can't even put words to it. It was just one of those moments that I think because I wasn't expecting it. Of course, with the first baby, you don't really know what's going on. You're trying to get on with it. You're trying to breastfeed, you're trying to sleep, you're trying to do all things. There's a lot of identity issues with the first baby that I was quite excited for the second baby, because I was thinking, I've done all the hard part. I kind of understood breastfeeding. I know how to change a nappy. I understand what a sleepless night means. So I was looking forward to really soaking in that newborn phase, getting the cuddles and just really being in a bubble of just newborn love. And then it hit me like a ton of bricks.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things that I was really angry at the start because nobody told me that it can almost happen the second time around, or maybe it was me being so naive. No one told me that you can get this level of anxiety with your subsequent children. I just was under this black fog for the longest time. And of course, you guys were there, but you can't be there 24 hours of the day. And you get this, this feeling. I obviously had to look after a toddler as well and a newborn. And it was this, this impending doom. The impending doom didn't lift for almost a year. And it did eventually. And I find that was probably the hardest part. Give me this. And I remember saying that, give me the sleepless nights, give me the exhaustion, give me the trouble breastfeeding, give me all these types of things. Just remove the anxiety from whatever it was inside. And that for me, I couldn't wrap my head around it. Logically, I can see a beautiful, healthy baby that I thought something was wrong, or I'm anticipating something going wrong. Do you remember?
I remember.
Do you remember when Zayn had a bit of a cold that he picked up from Laith?
Yeah.
And I thought the world was going to end.
It was.
I rushed him to the hospital. I feel like I just wasn't in my mind. The emergency room people were telling me, it's fine. It's just got a bit of a cold. You just need saline solution. I was like, no, it might be COVID. It might be this. And without being dramatic, but I honestly thought I was going to lose him.
Yeah.
That was terrifying.
Yeah.
And
it didn't help that it was COVID time.
It didn't help that it was COVID.
Everybody was anxious. That added to it.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. But I was in hell. I was in a hell that was just silent. And I remember, when you wake up and your mouth would be dry. Yeah. Your stomach would turn. I mean, even now I feel my face is heating up thinking about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I regret not seeking professional help. But it was almost like the misinformation as well. And of course, you helped a lot. So did Leanne. So did, Nasser. But, it's just this thing that almost, I was also angry that I was robbed of that newborn experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was very, very upset for a very long time. And I wouldn't wish that on anybody.
But the positive side of it, it lifted as sudden as it came on.
Absolutely. But I don't think, Mom, I think we are at a point where mental health needs to be put on priority.
Yeah.
And yes, it did lift for sure. Whether that's been actually dealt with or not, that's a different question. A lot of the times, I mean, there's always, there's always things in the background. I mean, I had a wonderful person come on an episode talking about your conscious and subconscious mind. And I'm sure it's there. The anxiety's there. I can feel it. There are moments sometimes where I feel that tingle. I feel that sort of dryness of the mouth and a visceral reaction to certain things. And I know that. And it's at that point that I take a minute and say, okay, I am anxious. Just let's figure out what it is. This undercurrent of anxiety. It is definitely something I need to deal with. Yes, it's lifted from that postnatal period. Absolutely. I can definitely function a bit more. My appetites come back, but it's definitely worthwhile looking into it professionally and dealing with it and not just sweeping it under the rug. I find it might somehow reoccur again, but in a completely different way and manifest in a completely different way. So it's always in the back of my mind to understand that anxiety is a pain point that I have. And to be aware of it and to maybe talk to somebody about it. So let me ask you then, what do you think was the hardest and sort of darkest part of being a parent?
I have to always bring this back to the war, don't I? But really, it was that in the height of the war, when we weren't sure what's going on, and you know how it wasn't really quite. We At some point there was no radio, and there was no television, there
Yeah,
was
it's,
no media,
they
and
do
there
this
was
like blackout.
total blackout. So we didn't know what's happening. So in the middle of trying to create a shelter and get the provisions and everything, so we sort of.
How old were me and Leanne?
Leanne was 2 and you were 5, yeah. So in the middle of it, as we were decking the place with the provisions for it, like a makeshift shelter, we weren't sure whether it's nuclear, chemical, what kind of an attack was it going to be.
Was that the threat?
That was yeah, it was in the beginning of the war.
Just before you go on,
Yeah.
I mean, when you were there in the middle of this, did you just almost have an existential crisis, thinking, how am I here? How did this happen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, really, it's just like you're literally cornered. You're cornered, and all you've got to do is use your wits
And
to
survive.
survive. And you're just totally cornered because you can't go anywhere. You know, everything is shut. The airport is shut. Everything is shut. You know, you're in your home, and there's going to be an attack, and you weren't sure what kind. So
It's terrifying.
it is terrifying. And then
Yeah.
so in the middle of, you know, as I said to you, you know, use your wits, and you're trying to sort of create a safe environment. You know, if it's chemical, it's the blanket and the water. If it's nuclear, you know, you're doing all of that, and you're decking the place. And then we thought, you know, we started contemplating that this is not right, and it's not good.
Yeah.
So we were contemplating that we should really
Not leave anyone behind.
Yeah, not leave anyone behind. Not vulnerable. That means the children or the women, or, you know, and that means it was really, it's a dark thought.
Ending life. Yeah.
And it's no, you know, it messes up with your brain, really. And at that point, we thought, if we're thinking that, you know, that's the end of it. We're going to leave as soon as we can, because this is not the right way of thinking.
Yeah.
So that was the darkest time. That was the darkest moment. Yeah.
And how long after did you leave?
As soon as the pause was in the war and the borders were open. So we were left the first ones. We packed you all in a car, and we traveled
I remember
overland.
You were telling me that you had the 2 kids side by side, not moving to cross a border.
Yeah, because we had some stuff and everything. So we packed whatever we value. We left everything.
Yeah.
And we just packed you in the car and left. So yeah, it wasn't good at all.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's I don't know how, honestly, that aspect. This is the thing. I will, inshallah, I will never know.
Inshallah.
But it is a reality that so many people all around the world are facing, and it's just, it's sad, and it's just it's actually quite, it almost, it plays up in my mind that I, you know, was there.
Yeah.
But
you've
just come out of it, and how, you know, so, you know, when you slither out of it.
Yeah. You are a survivor of a horrible catastrophe, really. But that, again, I hope that has given you the strength and resilience, really.
Definitely.
I mean, able to come out and still have a normal, healthy, beautiful, happy life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. There is resilience there. But again, I think a lot of maybe the negative parts of the worry and the anxiety, I'm pretty sure it's just, you know, a bit of trauma, you know?
Yeah, of course. That is a trauma. That is, I'm sure it's right there, as you said, in your subconscious.
Yeah.
So now, we move on to the fact that you are a parent full time with so much to juggle. So how would you prioritize self-care and maintain your own identity while fulfilling your responsibilities as a parent?
I think self-care is a word I feel it's just thrown around constantly. I find, you know, everyone's got sort of an idea of what self-care is supposed to look like, but then I find it's also, the word makes me cringe a little bit, because as a mother it can sometimes hinder you as opposed to help you, because you're thinking, oh, with all of that I need to squeeze in the self-care, but when you are doing self-care, you feel guilty. So me personally, what I define self-care is an activity or a something that you like to do that is guilt-free, something that you don't feel guilty for, something that you enjoy, that, you fully are immersed in, but there is not a shred of guilt. And it's very hard to find. For me, it takes a village. So self-care for me is now sitting here. It's a Saturday. The kids are with Nasser. Daddy's at home. And it's just me and you having a conversation. That is going to set the mood up for the rest of my day. I feel happy, empowered, accomplished. These types of things are essentially what you want for self-care. I mean, I love a massage. I absolutely do. I, like getting my nails done, but I sometimes find that they don't elicit that strong of a, I don't know, a feeling of I don't know, empowerment that I find self-care should be doing.
Absolutely.
So that's my self-care here today.
I love it.
Yeah. I try to do it as often as I can, but people schedules and everything. But yeah, It Takes a Village, I think, was created purely just for me to feel good, to also sort of feed my natural born curiosity to talk to people. And to just constantly chit chat.
I'm glad.
Yeah.
I'm glad you found your that spot where you go to.
Yeah.
And be
but I also
comfortable.
think that it changes over time. Give everybody the flexibility to be okay with, this worked on that day, didn't work on that day. Anything rigid, I've slowly come to realize, rigidity in life or rigidity in parenting doesn't work.
Absolutely.
Except at bedtime. I'm very rigid at bedtime.
I know.
But aside from that, no, I'm open to lots of things. It's quite hard because I'm quite A-type. So I like to have things all organized, but slowly kind of being a little bit more fluid with activities or decisions or whatever it might be, I think is important, even as a part of self-care.
Yeah, that is very, not a lot of people find that niche, or that, not niche, but that
activity,
that they do feel very
everybody's
comfortable.
Different.
Yeah, because a lot of people do escapism. They escape, watch television, or they escape and sort of do something that is just escapism, but you found something that you feel comfort in.
Yeah, but I mean, don't get me wrong. There's a Netflix and chill is definitely part of it. I think it's more, I just don't want to feel guilty for leaving kids.
Yeah.
So for me, whatever activity I'm doing, if I'm feeling guilty, I wouldn't consider it as self-care. It's like, I don't feel guilty in the evenings when they're asleep and I watch a movie. But I will feel guilty if I'm doing that in the middle of the day and they're around. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I know exactly.
I will feel guilty, for example, if I don't know, if that's just me personally. It's everybody's different. That's the way I find my comfort. Everybody's okay. No one needs me, and I'll go do my own thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the way it's been since Nate's been born.
Yes, you found it. Yeah. That's the main thing.
What about you? What's your self-care?
My self-care is, I suppose, in again, maybe similar to you, it is the A-type, is the minute everyone is comfortable and happy, then I can just relax.
Well, that says a lot about our personalities.
Yeah,
though. Yeah. Don't know if that's a good thing.
Yeah, I know. And I think Daddy's the same.
Yeah.
A-type.
Yeah.
Everybody's safe. And you remember when you were saying that when you come out of your whatever you were, if you've gone for a birthday party, for Daddy it was, are they home? Are they
Yeah,
safe?
I know. Yeah,
And
you
for
guys
me,
took
if you have
two different, very
fun,
different
yeah,
roles. Yeah.
yeah, it's the safety. It comes from the the man's role in life is to make sure he's the protector, and all right. And so then, what do you hope your children will remember most about their upbringing?
Oh God, that's a fully loaded question. Um, that their parents are there, present, that they were loved, very, very, very much loved and supported. That's all. I don't really care if they remember what we got them on their birthdays and or the vacations. I mean, yes, of course. I mean, I do want them to remember vacations because there's family time, but I just want them to know or not them to know, but I want them to remember how supported they felt, that, at no point did, this unconditional love, absolutely unconditional love. I just want them to take that with them and give it to their own children. There's no barrier to the level of support and love that we can hopefully provide them. And of course, this is something that I can keep saying it, but it's also being present as a parent. Now in this day and age, we've got our phones, we've got social media, we've got work, we've got emails. They come at you, every 30 seconds. So now my problem is, for example, to make sure that the time that I am with them is to actually be with them. Not Laith is talking to me, but I'm checking my WhatsApp.
Absolutely, yeah.
So that's what I always struggle with, in the sense that I need to make sure that I am as present when I need to be, whether that's what I can give, whether that's 5 minutes, whether that's 5 hours. But just to make sure that they are seen and heard, and they know that they're loved unconditionally and supported. That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, I say that's it, but that is a tall order. It is something that's very difficult to do. Like I said, I mean, literally, we're sitting here. I'm sure both of our phones are going off at some sort. And of course, you have to check it, whether it's business, whether it's this. Sometimes I'm ordering groceries, but it's being conscious enough to be present. That's what I'm working on, slightly struggling with. And there's always little tips and tricks,
Yeah.
So
the times have shifted,
Yeah.
and it is going, and we're improvising. Literally, you're improvising as you go along, because everything has changed from what it was and from what you know of your own
it's true.
childhood. It is changing.
And that's it. Like, it's just to, the challenges you had growing up. Of course, yours are quite unique because your challenges are very difficult. But, back in the day, we didn't have the digital world as a potential challenge, but also a wonderful thing as well. It's you just kind of have to find a happy medium.
Yeah. So how do you address the generational patterns of traumas in your family life, of your family history, while raising your own children?
I mean, we go back to it.
Yeah.
Isn't it? We go back to anxiety.
Yeah.
How do I deal with anxiety? I'm so aware of it.
Yeah.
I definitely need to seek that out.
Yeah,
I mean, I need to.
I must say it is generational.
Is it?
Because even your paternal great grandfather was known for him being an anxious person.
Oh, great.
So it's just it's nature versus nurture, isn't it? The nature is there. Yeah. It's the nature is already there, and the nurture is really nurturing that anxiety that has doubled.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, for me, it's that.
Yeah.
In terms of trauma, it is anxiety.
Yeah.
Anxiety. And I want to be careful not to throw the word around so lightly.
Yeah.
it hasn't been formally diagnosed from my end. You know what I mean? I use the word because I don't know what other word to describe it.
Yeah.
But it's that feeling, that sinking doom feeling, the worst case scenario, you know, that type of thing. I really want to not repeat that with my kids.
Yeah.
Because honestly, it's debilitating.
Yeah.
And it will stop you, and it will stop you from taking potential, you know, decisions or calculated risks and things like that. You know, it's good to feel a little bit of stress. I mean, that's we all, you know, this sympathetic, parasympathetic nervous system, it's there for survival, but not to take it to that next level.
Yeah. And it does remove the joy
100%
out of a situation.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm telling you that Zane's birth, oh, Habibi, it's just, it was so overshadowed. It was so overshadowed. And now I look back at photos and I think, look at this beautiful baby.
Yeah.
But
nothing
it's so
wrong
funny.
with it.
Nothing. No. And then I look back at photos and on that photo, I'm like, I took that photo and I can go back to that feeling.
Yeah. Yeah.
I remember feeling a certain way on that day. And I remember feeling a certain way on that day. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. And it's just, that's what I would definitely change. And not to make it like, it's not, I don't want to make you feel guilty, but
no.
you know,
I
it's just,
understand. Yeah.
This is something that I want to cut it with me.
Yeah.
You know, take the steps to stop it at me and not let it trickle down to the boys.
You hope so. But you know, it'll come a time when they are in a situation that, you know, as I said, everything is evolving and everything is moving, and we try our best, and hope that they will be able to have that defense system that we have helped build.
Absolutely.
And they'll be able to cope with it. Yeah.
Yeah. Just build the resilience.
Yes.
Remove the anxiety.
Absolutely. So, reflecting on your journey as a mother, what advice would you give to your younger self when you were just starting out?
What advice? I would probably, as a first-time mom, I would probably tell her that you really don't need anything. You don't need anything. Babies don't require much. You need to prioritize. You need to just prioritize yourself. Prioritize yourself and your baby. Everything else is just noise. Everything, whether that's the stuff that you're bringing in for the babies or the activities. I remember just worried about all the different sensory activities I should be doing. You just need to be you and your baby and enjoy that moment. Because it really, again, I don't want to sound cliche, but you know, when they say it really does go really fast.
Yes.
It does.
Yeah.
It does go fast. And I'm not saying I've got a teenager, but I was so worried about if I'm doing the right thing. I was so worried, especially with Laith being first time. So we'll take it from, you know, Laith's phase and then Zane's phase. But with Laith's phase, I was so worried about, did I get the right thing? Did I do the right thing? Am I doing the right? I mean, what is the right thing?
Yeah, exactly. What is the right thing?
I don't know. Well, the right thing is what comes naturally to you.
Absolutely.
What comes naturally to you and your baby? Is your baby happy, content? You know, are you feeling quite, I mean, again, you can't say that because a lot of the times confidence only comes with the experience.
Yes, of course.
But there isn't a perfect. And this whole thing about perfection is just quite tough. It's just this thing about perfection. And then I remember feeling I needed to go back to me. Oh, you know, we're going to hit the 3-month mark and then life will return back to normal. Well, life is not normal anymore. You have a baby.
Yeah.
It's changed.
Yes.
And changed in wonderful ways and changed in not so wonderful ways. And that's okay because that's just a phase of life. Stop worrying about whether you're getting it right or wrong. If it's wrong, it's going to be fine. You're going to correct those mistakes. And it's part of learning. It's part of being a human. If it's right, give yourself a high five and a pat on the back and feel good about it that day. So that's what I would say to myself with Laith.
Yes.
With Zane, I would say that you've wasted too much time and seek professional help.
Yeah.
those feelings are, yes, to a certain extent, part of, the baby blues and things like that, but they are not normal. Go and see somebody and talk about them and get the help that you need, because you've got a wonderful stage in life that you want to enjoy, but you don't have the tools to be able to move past whatever is going on.
Yeah.
That's what I would say to my self 3 years ago.
I see. Yeah. Yeah.
And then also starting it takes a village.
Yeah.
I would also say, just go for it. Doesn't have to be perfect. Go for it. Learn as you go. Whether it's a podcast, whether it's some social media thing, it's all scary. Starting is scary. Just close your eyes and jump. Hope for the best.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've done a great job, really.
Thank you. What would you say to yourself as let me take you back. I don't want to reveal my age, but let's say 40 years.
Yeah.
40 years ago. What would you say to yourself?
It's very similar to what you said. It's just really, I would tell myself to go with the flow. And to go with the flow, because life, you really don't know what turn it takes. So whatever turn it takes, I mean, maybe you give it a religious kind of spin to it, and it's just trust Allah, and everything will be fine. And again, we've talked about anxiety, talked about stress, talked about worry. And my worry was, will my children be normal after all this, what I have subjected them to, and what all the different moves and all the different places and the languages and the cultures, and would, before every step, I wouldn't sleep.
Yeah.
I wouldn't sleep at all. I would just, it's between the guilt and the stress and all mixed together into, what am I doing to my kids? What am I doing to my life? What am I doing to my family and my marriage and my everything? Everything was a worry. But now looking back on it, is that I should have just trusted Allah.
Yeah.
Leave it up to Allah, and everything will turn out beautiful. And not to resist. If the flow is to go left, just go left. Not to resist and say, is this the right decision? What decision should I be making? And all the decisions we made, it turned out the best decisions ever, including moving back to Dubai.
Yeah.
Moving to Dubai.
Yeah.
Or to the UAE, and it was the best decision. It took me a long time to decide that, and it turned out the best.
Yeah. It's hard. I mean, now obviously retrospectively, it's so easy, to say that. It's just so much easier said than done, but that's time, isn't it? When you look back and you think, oh, I shouldn't have worried so much, or I shouldn't have cared about this so much. It's tough. But when you're in a situation, it takes a lot to pull yourself out, sort of to look at a situation and think, I'm going to deal with this differently. It's definitely a skill.
Yeah.
But it's good to reflect back. It's good to reflect back and think, I think it's also good to reflect back. Honestly, instead of reflecting back 40 years, get into the habit of reflecting back every year.
Yeah.
I think, what could I do differently this year that might change certain things? Maybe, I don't know. I'm just, as a suggestion, I think that might be.
So from that, do you have any regrets?
Gosh, Mom, you're coming in with the hard questions. Regrets? I regret. I'm going to go back to saying, just honestly, that was probably the most traumatic point.
Yeah.
I regret every minute that I didn't seek help.
Yeah.
And not to say that you didn't help. You did very much. I remember every moment. It was like the bat line. I would call you and you'd be there.
Yeah.
But, you're also,
of course,
you know what I mean? And I regret that. I almost, and I hate saying it, but I wish the time away so I could feel better.
Yeah. Yeah.
I regret every moment of that.
Yeah.
It makes me want to cry.
Yeah. Oh my
But
God.
yeah, it's that was the point where I just yeah,
Yeah.
it wasn't ideal.
Look, I mean, I'm not familiar with it, and I have, of course, you know that I had the same when I had Leanne. I felt really, absolutely, totally lost, and I have no control. Your anxieties is my child okay? Is my child okay? For me, it was, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do. I'm totally lost control. And I remember when I had Leanne, I went to my mother's house for a while. Leaving, I sobbed as if I was going to the great unknown. So it was, I mean, it does happen, but
Yeah.
yours was a little bit
Exaggerated.
exaggerated. And yeah.
Do you have regrets?
Absolutely none. I would do the same thing over and over again with all the bad and the good, because it is who I am now, and I'm very happy with how I turned out.
Yeah.
And
Me too.
that is the result of all of these experiences, and I wouldn't change that for the world. Yeah. No, I have absolutely no regrets.
That's good.
Yeah. So as we come to the end,
Okay.
and as you always say, that all your guests have a specific quote that they like to share. So do you have one?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
It's by the great Mahatma Gandhi, and it's where there is love, there is life.
What a wonderful one. And that's so true.
It is, isn't it? It's true.
Yeah.
When you love, life just transpires into a beautiful thing.
It's all about love, isn't it? And honestly, that is the food for life.
Yeah.
It's love. I love it.
Mommy, thank you. Thank you for interviewing me.
I should say thank you for giving me this opportunity to try out this shoe.
It was wonderful. It was absolutely wonderful. I'm so blessed, and I'm so grateful that you agreed to do this.
I'm very proud and happy to be here, and thank you for hosting me again.
You are more than welcome. You can come anytime.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to They Say It Takes a Village. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I look forward to bringing you another one next week. Don't forget, please subscribe, rate, and review so I can reach and help even more parents. And if you've got a topic that you'd like me to cover, please head over to my Instagram page, ittakesavillage.me, and drop me a line.